Hello, my name is Alejandro Camacho, and I'm going to explain the problems from 13 to 15 corresponding to week 2. So for this problem, there is a company in which someone invested to be able to buy some assets in exchange to common stock. So the common stock that this person is receiving is here. And the assets are basically in this column on the left. Okay. So what we have to do is to fill 3 different statements. And from the first one, we will get the input for the second one. And the first one we have to complete is the income statement. So for this one, we are trying to cover a period in time and not just a day. So the correct option will be a month. And the idea of this statement is to understand what is the net income of the business. And for that, we need to subtract all the different expenses from the revenues the business has. So if we see this list, we will see that the only revenue is this one for consulting services, right? So we can start with the different revenues, but in this case we have just one, the consulting revenues, and I will put the amounts later. I'm sure they are different for each one of us, and now I will list all the different expenses. As we can see here, we have rent expenses, salaries expenses, telephone expenses, and miscellaneous expenses, right? So we have to list them all to summarize them. Rent expenses, salary expenses, telephone expenses, and miscellaneous. And with that, we will get the total expenses. And as I said, the idea is to obtain the net income, subtracting all the expenses from the different revenues. I will populate these automatically. Okay, so what I just did was to put the different amounts for each concept here, right? And with that, automatically I got the total revenues, which is the consulting revenue, right? Same amount. And the summary of all the different expenses here, total expenses. So I have to subtract the expenses from the revenues, and I get my result. So this is the net income that I will need for the next exercise. Okay, so moving to the next one. Now we have to fill the statement of retained earnings. So again, we are trying to cover a period in time, not just a day. So we put here the month. So we are not having any information of previous retained earnings from another period, right? So here we just put a 0. And we will need to add the net income we just got. So I will put the number that I got for my case, right? And the only thing that is decreasing this concept, according to what we have in this retained earnings report, is the dividends, right? So we have these cash dividends, and we have to put it here. So we have to subtract dividends. I will put the corresponding amount for my example. And so the retained earnings at the end of the period, so December 31, is, well, in my case, this amount. And this information is going to be useful for the next one, which is fill a balance sheet. So this one is covering a specific point in time, right? So for this one, we are covering the last day of the month. So for the balance sheet, we have to show that basically the total assets are equal to the summary of all the liabilities and equity, right? So if we got the same result at the bottom, we can see that we have everything in balance, right? So on the left, we start with the different assets. And if we remember that assets are every item that is under control of the company, we can see that a cash, account receivable, office supplies, land, office equipment are different assets. So we have to put them here, right? So we have cash, account receivable, office supplies, we have land because it's under control of the company, and office equipment. And with that, we will get the total assets. On the left, we start with the liabilities. So the one we can see here are any kind of credit that we can see here. In this case, is accounts payable. That's the only one we see here, right? However, we also have to consider to put the equity here, not just the accounts payable, but after liabilities, we have to also consider the equity because we have to summarize them both against the assets, right? So on equity, we have a common stock, right? And other concept that is not here is the retained earnings, which is part of the equity, but we got it from the previous exercise. In this case, this is my amount. So I can put it since now. I'm sorry, it should not be here. This is one part of equity, right? So it goes here, right? And with that, what we are planning to get on the right is the summary of liabilities and equity, right? So I will fill this offline to save some time. Okay. So what I did was just to put the corresponding amount to each one of the different concepts, right? That was easy. The total assets was calculated automatically. The accounts payable too. The common stock here, right? And the written earnings, as I said, from the previous problem. So we got a summary of all the equity. So this is the total equity, right? This amount. So if we summarize equity and liabilities here, we got this, right? Total liabilities and equity, which corresponds to the total assets. So we can say this is imbalance. Okay, this is a problem with the common stock, right? Oh, yeah, because the amount is incorrect. Okay, it was a good way to verify the result. So again, here we have 93,250, and we have the same amount here. So now it's okay. There you go. Thank you.